Alan with Mobility Works, showing you our 2018 Transit van. Point a few features out as I go through it. As we open the door here, this is where the gas is. It's a hidden door, very simple, no gas cap required. So just so you know how to fill it up. As I move in here, to operate the lift on this thing, I want to go through a few features. You need to have a few things done. 3 of them is the ignition's on, and the parking brake, which is over here just beside the driver. I want you to pan up over it, Mike, so they can see where it is. And this parking brake over here needs to be set. So those 2 things are done. I'm going to go to the back of the vehicle. I'm going to show you how we run and operate the lift on this real quick. Now, a couple things on the Ford that I really like. Obviously, is the backup camera, which is up here for the 18 model. That's how you can tell them apart. Very good visibility. When we open the vehicle up, there's a couple of things. The door is open. There's a little latch in here. You can lock it or unlock it. I'm going to open it up for visibility today, but recommend that you keep it locked and we don't have a door swinging and impeding our ramp. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock the other side. Open it up as well. Now you can tell that the third thing you need to do is, if you notice, there's some lights here for working in the dark conditions, and those are not lit. There's a switch down here, a power switch, that needs to be turned on just underneath the pendant here, and now we have power to it. You also can tell there's power to the pendant because it backlit these lights. We're going to start with the fold function, and the reason we start with the fold function is there's hooks that attach here on the lift, and that keeps this thing from rattling loose when we're in motion. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit fold as it opens up, and then I'm going to hit unfold, and I'm going to hold that button down until it stops. And as the lift comes down, there's a few features I want to point out on it as well. This yellow bar across here is our outer barrier, and there's an inner barrier here as well. I'll show that to you as we start to move it. We standard equip each of our lifts with this seat belt, and that's actually designed to go behind an occupant when they're riding up on this lift. And this is for safety, gives some security to our occupants and to anybody who's operating. I'm going to go ahead and run the lift down. So I move from the fold function to the down button, and I hold it until it stops. That's our inner barrier that's opening up right here, and this is a safety feature. It's actually got a micro switch in it. If we have an occupant and their feet hits that, it actually shuts that down. So that's not me doing it on the trigger. It's built in one of the safety switches on this. As it hits the ground here, that outer barrier will open up, and that's how we roll a wheelchair on. When it's closed, it holds that securely and actually gives us a fence on the back of the lift. There's another feature on this lift that if somebody, an occupant, gets up and they're walking around where they shouldn't be, and they come back and they step on this plate, it has an audible alarm. The lift has a couple of other features I want to point out while I have it down here. Up on top of it, there's a digital counter. This counts the cycles that this goes through, and down and up. This helps us keep it on its maintenance schedule, so we get the oil changes and the service done at the correct times and in the correct intervals. I'm going to go ahead and operate the lift up here and close it, and then we'll go inside and I'll talk about some of the features inside the van as well. But very simple. We've got our occupants in here. We put the seat belt behind them, and we're going to go ahead and just run the up button. That outer barrier comes and closes. I'm stopping here. It's secure, so the wheelchair won't be coming in and off the vehicle. And we'll run it until it stops again. Once this is stopped, we're going to go ahead and come inside of the vehicle to receive our occupant and pull them into the vehicle. When the lift is in this up position, the nice thing is this plate, if we come stand on it, it doesn't set off the alarm. It's designed to not do that. We pulled our occupants in, and I'm going to go ahead and go into the folding cycle on this thing so we can close up. A little cold out here. Now when we're closing it, I come back again, and these hooks, I want to pay attention to them. I unfold it, I bump it, and then those nest in. And they nest in and hold it. I'm going to go ahead and close the back of the vehicle. Driver's side first. Shut your power down. Passenger side last. Come around the side here. So this isn't a standard feature. This is an additional, but our most common running board is this expanded metal. It's my favorite. It's the most economical, and it's definitely the most sturdy. And I'm a big guy, so I like a little bit of structure here. And so when I stand on this thing, it's very, very stout. It doesn't go anywhere. There's also a stanchion hole here on the side, which is for easy access. Even shorter people or whatever need to grab a little bit lower, so it's easy on and off. As I come in the vehicle, I'm pulling out this element here. This is a smart floor seat. The seat belt is integrated into it. And if you look in the floor here, these tracks are called L-track, and they run front to back. They run full length. And this is the method in which we secure seats and wheelchairs in the vehicle. It's an all aluminum floor. It's a metal extrusion. It's actually hollow in the center, and those are pinned together. They're Euro welded down, glued, fancy word, they're glued down for a monolithic attachment. There's no through holes or no through bolts, even though you can see the heads of these bolts in here. That is to attach the L-track to the aluminum floor underneath it. This is incredibly strong. We actually pull test this to failure. That pull test process will actually total out the vehicle as opposed to getting to floor to release. These seats are pulled to 5,500 pounds apiece, and they're very easy to move. One of the great things about this vehicle is that you can move things around in the interior. You can set it up any way you like. Before I start moving seats around, I want to go to a couple of base standard features that the van has. This is the wagon by Ford, and if you see, there's a great big offset from the window here to the liner, and that's because this contains a curtain airbag that goes down each side. In the event that we have an accident, a side impact, those curtains will deploy and they'll help keep our passengers from ending up in the glass or out a window. There's also an aftermarket feature that's here, and this little football here is actually a puck. It's anchored into structure underneath the vehicle, behind the vehicle there, and it's used to attach for the wheelchair shoulder restraints. The vehicle also has, you can see the air vents that are near those. This is factory rear air conditioner. This is one of my favorite features on the Ford. It's built in here in the floor. It's down in this gray box. That factory air, you service it right here at the Ford dealership. It is warranted under the Ford warranty, and that is probably the #1 repair that we have in our industry is on air conditioners. So it's nice to know that you're covered under the Ford factory warranty. If we come back up here and go to the seats, I'm going to do a little rearrangement. So we've got a couple seats set here in the floor, and moving these seats is quite simple. I'm going to zoom in on this. These pins here are designed as a safety feature to keep this from accidentally being disengaged to the floor. So you actually move the pin out of the way. I'm doing it on the back side, and then you release it with the other hand. Again, I'm going to go do the one next to it. Pull the pin out of the way, release it from the floor, and now this seat is free from the floor. I can roll it back onto its wheels, and I can roll it anywhere in the room that I like to. It's very simple to reinstall it. These pins that I'm using are a guide pin, and I'm using that to set it up so it's nice and square. And then I drop these anchors back into the floor. Now it's in the floor, and I simply push these bars forward, and it's now attached to the floor, and I can move it anywhere in the room that I like. Again, the seat belt's integrated into it, so you can put the seat anywhere you care to. I'm going to come back here and pull out the wheelchair restraints. And these wheelchair restraints are very simple to use. They're very intuitive. And this is the AMF Bruna. It's one of my favorites. There's a shoulder restraint in here. There's a red belt in here, and this red belt isn't because they ran out of the black material, but it's just to signify that it's different than the others. This is a lap belt, and it's designed to go across the occupant and the wheelchair's lap. So it doesn't get confused with anything else in the vehicle. I'll very quickly show you how to set this up. I'm going to pull, this is a shoulder restraint. It looks a little different than the other anchors. If you unwind it here, there's a clip on this. Make sure and leave that on there until you get it installed. The rest of these restraints all look just like this. They're identical, and these are for the floors. I'm going to go ahead and set this here in the back. If you'll pan with me. I'm dropping this seat into the floor, and the way they go on the floor is quite simple. I'm going to install this one. I'll do a little more detail on how the L-track works when we move to one of the floor mounts besides this. But I just snapped it in the floor. It literally will go any place. And this is the shoulder. It's the top of it, so it looks a little bit different. If you can see that there. It comes up here and it mounts into the shoulder. Now, and this just plugs on the wall, and it's now on. I now have a shoulder restraint. Very simple. That works? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and install 2 of these 4 restraints. There will be 4 at all corners, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. I'm just going to put the 2 rear on to demonstrate how the lap belt works. That's really the only point of this. So if you look at these, there's a indentation that goes across this L-track. And when it's up, it's not locked. So if those lines do not line up, it's not in its locked position. So when we put this into the floor, we need to make sure that this is in a lock position. It's very simple to do it. You literally line it up with the holes, and then you press the entire assembly into the floor and slide it either forwards or backwards. You heard that just positively lock in. You can check that. It's very sturdy and stable. This is one of the retractables. This pulls out, hooks onto the wheelchair, and it actually is under auto tension. You can hear it ratcheting, and it will actually lock itself in. I'm going to set the second restraint. This is all the second rear restraint. This would be at the back of the wheelchair, and now it's locked in. So we have 2 restraints set, and I'm going back to the red lap belt. This is just to show you how to install that. We don't have a wheel chair here today, besides it would be in the way of you being able to see things. But very simply, you can tell that you have this set up correctly because at each end, there's a male adapter, that little silver male adapter. And then in the lap belt, it has a adjustable, and then it's just a normal. Be careful you don't go and hook these up here, right? They'll fit, but that's not where they're supposed to go. The center of the belt has the lap belt with the adjustment. And this is very simple. They're seat belts as well, and they clip onto the back of these restraints. It's now attached. We're going to take this and run it in between the bar and over our occupant's lap, in between the bar as well, and then attach that here. This is how the seatbelt would work. So you kind of get that for a viewpoint. And then once we have their lap restrained, we're going to go back to the shoulder, where this is going to come around our occupant's shoulder, and it's going to come back down, and it actually clips on to the base, those little metal adapters. And this is obviously can be used either side of the vehicle, and that's why there's one in each one. So there's your shoulder restraint, lap restraint, and the 2 rears set. Now, you need to have them at all 4 corners. This is just to demonstrate how it works. So we would have 2 more anchors set up in front of this as well. I think we're about done. Thank you very much. Have a great day.